Good morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, June 25th. Looking at our impacts, we do have several days of significant winds across the Great Basin, and we've broken them down this way. In the orange are gusty winds, typically 30 miles per hour or higher, with low humidity over dry fuels, at least cured grasses and finer fuels. We'll look at the fuel state in a minute. Where you see the yellow will also have significant winds, but these will be over areas where perhaps the grasses are not fully cured out, or the live fuel moisture is too high, or in the higher terrain where basically all fuels are still too moist to support large fires, just to give you a basis of what's going on. Precipitation over the last 24 hours, just a few scatterings, and a lot of this was virga that wasn't even hitting the ground, so no significant precipitation. But we did have some lightning across the area. A lot of this up in Idaho, over areas that are still too moist to support large fire, but some lightning across parts of central Utah and Nevada, over some areas that could start some fires, and we do have some new starts, small ones here, mostly in Utah, also down south of Las Vegas. Precipitation over the past 7 days. Notice how dry it has been across southern Idaho, much of northwestern and all of western and even southern Nevada. And that's also seen in the past 2 weeks here on the right-hand side, the dryness across Snake River Plain, across much of northwestern and down into southern Nevada. There were some heavier showers over the higher terrain of Utah. You can see that over here in the green and darker green, which indicates a ½ inch to an inch of rain that has fallen in the last 2 weeks. That's slowing the drying of some of those fuels in those areas. The ERC map, if you've been following this over the past couple of days, about a week ago we had no yellows. Now we have a couple of dozen of them, so ERCs are starting to march upwards in a lot of areas. They don't always tell the whole story. There is a heavier 1,000-hour fuel component in the ERCs. If we concentrate mostly on the grasses, which are cured out across southern and western portions of the Great Basin, you can see where those 10-hour fuels are driest, mostly over Nevada, a little bit into far southwest Idaho, but you get a bit further into southeast Idaho, and they had some recent moistening. Looking at our 100-hour fuels, which a combination of grass and brush is a pretty good representative. You can see here in northwest Nevada, 100-hour fuels are near normal. The gray line is normal dryness, the red is record dryness. They've gotten down quite a bit. Here in southern Nevada, outside of Vegas, also near normal or just a fraction above, but we're towards the driest time of year. But in some of our wetter areas here across the mountains of central Utah, you can see those 100-hour fuels. They bounced up quite a bit with some shower activity, and even though they've started to come down, still significantly above normal in terms of fuel moisture. And there is another tail to the tail, and that's the live fuel moisture in the brush. So you can see here in southwest Idaho, live fuel moisture still above normal, normal being the green line, record being the red. Across parts of western Nevada, still above normal. Same story down here in the Arizona Strip, still significantly above normal. These samples were taken about 2 weeks ago, and we should get new samples coming in by the end of this week. And with the dryness that we've had, I suspect a lot of these will be closer to normal late June levels. Looking at the satellite map, again, an unseasonably deep low-pressure area off the Pacific Northwest coast. Again, something we normally see in March and April, not in late June. Bring up some high and mid-level clouds, so again, some scattered convection possible, but the tightness of these height lines together will also bring unseasonably strong, well, I should say just strong winds for much of the area. And because of this strong storm track coming out of the northwest, no semblance of the monsoon. You don't see any kind of enhanced moisture that you see here, for example, in the Gulf of Mexico. Normally we see this approaching the lower 48 in Arizona and New Mexico, and not a sign of it. That's actually to be expected in this pattern. We're using backup maps here. Some of our regular maps are not functional right now, but on the left-hand side, you can see that deep low-pressure trough through here, and the tight packing of these height lines indicates strong wind field. Here's our fire potential on the right. Winds will start picking up. These orange and purple shades are gusts of anywhere from the upper 20s to the mid 30 mile per hour range, maybe even upper 30s in the deepest purple. And humidity levels, you can see them in the single digits to mid-teens across much of Nevada, Utah, and the Arizona Strip, a little bit higher as you head further north. Now on Wednesday, that deep low pressure area moves a little closer. These height lines, these tight height lines indicate very strong winds, and in these areas where the 10-hour fuels are the driest, also some of the 100-hour fuels are pretty dry as well, we have high risk for winds across the western portion of the Great Basin, matching up with some of our neighbors' thoughts in Northern California and also in adjacent Arizona. And you can see why these enhanced winds on the left-hand side, these purple shades, gusts approaching 40 miles per hour in some areas. And look at that humidity, 8%, 6%, 11, 14, 12. So again, humidity dry enough, the grasses which are cured should burn. On Thursday, again, not much change. That low pressure just sits there. So another day of strong winds. This will produce not only dry, breezy conditions during the day, but also poor humidity recoveries at night. So we should see a significant change in some of the fuel moistures over the next 3 or 4 days. Our high-risk focus shifts a little bit further south. We may start seeing an increase in cloud covering humidity in northern areas. And you can see that belt of strongest winds also shifting a bit further east and a bit further south. Again, humidity single digits in the south, low to mid-teens across Nevada and Utah, and then a little bit higher as you head into Idaho and western Wyoming. But even then, they'll see the winds. 3-day precipitation actually reaching the ground, not much expected across the Great Basin at all. And on Friday, same story. We're still going to be breezy through here. We still have high risk in our far southern areas in the grasses and brush, which will be drying out considerably from today on through the end of the week. This wind pattern shifts a bit further to the north and east on Saturday. They start slackening off. We're still in that pattern, so we'll still see continued drying in our southern areas. And finally, this low still saying that we're starting to weaken Sunday, and Monday finally starts falling apart. We're in more of a lighter southwest flow, but we should see a significant drying in our fuels during this time period. 7-day total precipitation also none expected across the area, so we're dry for the most part through the area, except for maybe the far highest terrain of central Idaho, but that's about it. And the 8 to 14-day outlook. There is a signal of above normal temperature, especially for the northern 2/3 of the Great Basin. Interestingly enough, below normal, pushing here from Arizona to southern Utah. This is because normally we would see monsoonal moisture creeping up here, but we're not seeing any hint of it. And this is going into the first week of July. So we are several weeks behind on the monsoon. That'll play strong implications in the extent of our fire season and the extension of it across our southern areas. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.